ॐ भद्रं मे अपि वातय मनः। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। नमः श्रीशङ्करानन्द। नमः श्रीशङ्करानन्द गुरुपादाम्बुजन्मने। गुरुपादाम्बुजन्मने सविलासमहामोह सविलासमहामोह ग्राहग्रासैककर्मणे ग्राहग्रासैककर्मणे. We are on the important topic right now of understanding Ishvara. This understanding of Ishvara in the form of the Jagat and as the one who has created, sustaining the Jagat, created the Jagat and is swallowing up the Jagat, resolving the Jagat also, is important in the life of the individual so as to be able to recognize the Ishvara within. As soon as we enter the spiritual realm, we understand that the Ishvara that one is looking for, the God that is looking for, is the very indweller of this body-mind complex, body-mind senses. But that is a far cry to reach. It is very difficult to reach because the frequent questions that we have from people who come newly to Vedanta is, Vedanta says, I am God. Well, yes. I mean, it's not so easy to just sort of say, I am God. There is a big teaching involved there. So if I am God, then I am worshipping myself. This is the next question. And if I am worshipping myself, then why should I go to temple? Why should I have an altar? Why should I do puja? Why should I do meditation? This all comes from this non-understanding. The body is also a manifestation, just like the Jagat. The body, mind, sense complex are part of the Jagat because they too are created from the 5 elements and so on. And so, in order to have a sound appreciation of Ishvara, we have to go through the Jagat. And in order to have a sound appreciation of that Ishvara as non-separate from the witness obtaining within this body-mind-sense complex, we really have to have this understanding because without that we cannot go any further. And so therefore we have to see how this non-separation of the effect from the cause is. And this is very easy to appreciate. We have already seen a little bit of this in the beginning. So wherever there is pot, what should be there? Clay should be there. So the pot is non-separate from clay, and in fact the clay is intrinsic to the existence of the pot, whereas from the standpoint of the clay, the pot is an incidental expression of this clay. Similarly, the Jagat is, the Bhagavan, Ishvara, God is intrinsic to the Jagat. Without God, there is no Jagat, absolutely, because it's the cause of the universe. And this intelligence, this knowledge, and this existence, the source of all existence, equipped with Shakti, equipped with the power to create, resolve, etc., is what we call Ishvara. And therefore, it is intrinsic to the very existence of the Jagat. The Jagat borrows its existence from Ishvara, and the Jagat is nothing but knowledge. This is very nice to look at. It is nothing but knowledge. So if you have a flower in the hand, what is this flower? Then you can say, oh, I know, it's a rose. And then, what is this rose? Why is it like this? Why are the petals like this? Oh, the petals are like this for the sake of survival. They are closed and then they open little bit and then they open a little more, and then it is to survival means what? Pollination. For the sake of pollination, for the sake of attracting the bees, etc., birds, bees, who spread the pollen everywhere, who spread the reproductive material of the flower so that it propagates. That is why the petals are like this. So if you ask a botanist, they will tell you that. Flower means this is what it is. Flower is means flower knowledge is. And this flower knowledge is infinite, because the isness, if I can use the word, of the flower and the knowledge that is flowing in the form of the flower does not belong to the flower. Who does it belong to? Ishvara. Satchidananda plus Shakti, plus the power to create, etc. So this is what we have to see. Everything in this Jagat is borrowed existence, borrowed knowledge, and the Ishvara is in the form of this knowledge and this existence that continues forever. That is how we say everything in the universe is Sat Chit Ananda. Satyam Jnanam Anantam. Same thing. Same thing. And yesterday we saw the whole Jagat in the form of orders so that we can appreciate Ishvara closely. Even through one's own sorrow, one's own fear, one's own anxiety, we can appreciate Ishvara and look at Ishvara through the emotions, through the pain, through the sorrow. We can see through one's own karma, one can see Ishvara. See means understand, have the appreciation for this Bhagavan. We can understand this Bhagavan, we can have this appreciation for Bhagavan through this, through everything, through the lens of the Jagat. We saw that yesterday. Every order is close to me because I am experiencing this order. And order non-separate from Ishvara. This is important to understand, because otherwise the common thinking in any religious background is that God is something separate from the universe. And then when I have to think of God, I have to really work very hard to think of God. First thought, God. Second thought, God. Third thought, I opened my eyes, looked around, dog. Okay, because that's what I saw. God got replaced by what? Dog. How did this happen? Because we don't have the appreciation that what Vedanta understands as God is not enclosable by a thought. That which is, and listen carefully, that which is enclosed by a thought is an object. Only an object can be enclosed by a thought. If I say, here is a pot, then the eyes fly out, as it were, and then embrace the pot, bring the pot knowledge back to the mind, and the intellect says, this is pot. Ratifies the existence of the pot as it is known to oneself, and then this is pot, I know pot. This is how everything in all objects in the world are cognized. And if Brahman were also to be cognized like this, if God is also the object of this kind of a object cognition, then what would happen? God would become limited, one more object. This is why people say, I don't have time for Vedanta, because it's one more pursuit, it's one more thing to do. It is not one more pursuit, it's not one more object to pursue. It is that because of which all your pursuits are. All your pursuits are because of which, that is what we call Ishvara. Ishvara itself is not an object. And so, instead of saying I need to think of God, it's better to see how to not think of God really. Because then you see that you have to get away from thinking of God, then you find that you can't do that at all. This can be a nice exercise. Let's get away from Ishvara. Where will I'll go far away? Far away is Ishvara. I'll go into outer space. Outer space is Ishvara. I'll withdraw and go to bed. Inner space is Ishvara. Wherever you go, there is Ishvara. This is what has to be appreciated in the form of orders, and then we understand the very next important thing, which is that Ishvara is not an object of thought. It's not an object of your thought. It cannot be an object of your thought because it is the very nature of you, the subject. And this to appreciate, we cannot sort of do this in an abstract way. It has to be done concretely through understanding the Jagat as Ishvara. That the whole Jagat we have to learn to Ishvaraize. Ishvaraize, is that a word? It is now. Yeah. So we have to Ishvaraize the whole universe. Yeah. So wherever, here an Ishvara, there an Ishvara, everywhere Ishvara, Ishvara. This is what old Mac Jiva has to understand. Yes, this is what one has to understand. So you see the name and form, you appreciate the name and form, and then even as you see the name and form, you have the appreciation of Ishvara as though hiding behind each name and form. The Satchidananda is there behind each name and form. And you remove the Satchidananda, the Jagat collapses. Like the story I have told before, what is that? Of the crow crashing, the crow wanting to attend the annual peacock convention. It saw all the crows are very intelligent, you know. It saw all the peacocks dancing. It says, oh, I also want to go there and dance. I also want to go. And then it also said, let me go. And they had one bouncer peacock. Ah, yes. He said, look at the board. Oh, what is the board? Only peacocks allowed. Oh, crow went away disappointed. But it didn't give up. It went on the periphery, went around the fence, and then it saw all the peacocks dancing full color, riot of nice colors, dancing, forgetting themselves. And as they danced, guess what happened? A few feathers fell down. The crow reached out its one leg and grabbed 3 feathers, stuck them on itself. Trotted off again, presented itself to the guard, the bouncer, and the guard was little confused. He was about to shoo it off again, but then he had recently had diversity training on the job. There are differently abled peacocks. All peacocks don't look the same. Some are small, some are big. And what if it has some kind of a condition where the feathers are falling off? You must not shame these beings in public. It's not nice. You will lose your job. All that was fresh in his mind. So he said, okay, go, go, go. The other peacocks also thought, what is this that is coming here? What is this travesty of nature that has just entered our convention? What is this thing? But they also said, forget it. We'll just have our own good time. And the crow now turned peacock, a sad version of the peacock. What did it do? It also said, I will also dance. It also danced, forgetting itself. And of course, the feathers fell off one by one, and it was pecked out of the convention. That is the story. Why 3 feathers? Sat Chit Ananda. That is why. So, that is how it is. We are all crows, just dressed up as peacocks. Our glory belongs to Bhagavan, really. If anything that is there to appreciate, That is what Bhagavan. In the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord takes back all the intellectual property rights that belong to Him. He says, if you have a good voice, sorry, that's not you, that's me. If you have the ability to do something, that's not you, that's me. And in the Jagat also, all the best things, the best mountain, the best rishi, the best snake, the best river, it's all, nothing belongs to the Jagat, it is all me. And at the end of the 10th chapter, he says, Yadyad vibhutimat sattvam. Whatever is there that is glorious in this universe is what? Mine alone. Tejo amsha. My tejas, my knowledge. It is all my existence, my knowledge, that is tatam. Tatam means spread as this in the form of this universe. Also spread in the form of this universe is my own body, my questioning, distrustful mind, and my variable emotions. Along with that, along with this impossible setup, is also the will to desire to change, the will to desire to grow spiritually, the will to be one with everything, because that is a fact. Everything is Satchidananda means everything is one. And I want to be with that one. Therefore, learning the order, learning the steps is learning the steps of Ishvara's dance, is appreciating the dance at least in the form of the audience first. Even if you don't want to be a student of the dance, appreciating as an audience these steps and the vast glory of this dance. The dance is in the form of the Jagat, in the form of the various orders. And when I appreciate that, I am in worship. The appreciation itself is a worship. And when I learn to appreciate this Jagat as Bhagavan, and this Ishvara, this whole Jagat, then I am also in acceptance. And my pupilhood has begun. When I am in acceptance, I am a student now of this dance. Because we have to understand, what choice do you have? Everything is given here. We did not make anything. We did not make our brains, thank God, yes. Imagine otherwise, how would it be? Neither did the mother in whose womb we were sitting. No, she also did not know how to make brains. You can ask. You can ask the parents. If they are around, Mom, did you make my brains? What will Mom say? Mom will say, I wish I had so that you wouldn't ask these kinds of questions. The womb is just an incubator. Bhagavan does the job, it's all invisible, it's all undercover, like even planting the seed and watering it, you don't see anything. Even if you cut open the seed, the tree is not there, but the knowledge of the tree is there. And without reading any books on botany, that seed transforms itself eventually into its full potential as a tree. It's all a potential and a manifestation. And so I did not make my brains, I did not make my liver, my lungs, my heart, and I don't even know how they work. Nobody knows how they work. You eat the food and then it goes into the stomach, the right place it goes into, and then it also gets digested. That itself is a daily miracle. Really, daily miracle. And so we have to stop looking for miracles, because the miracle that you want is you. The miracle, all you have to see is just the way the intelligence in this body, the knowledge in this body that has nothing to do with your knowledge of anatomy functions. This knowledge is so vast that people are still understanding things about this body. So vast. and so universal. Wherever there are eyes, they will see. That's a law. And if there is a problem with the eyes, that is also part of the order, another order, the karmic order. And if the karma is there, then the antidote for the karma is also there in the form of prayers, because every organ in the body has a presiding deity. Very beautiful, so sophisticated this understanding of Ishvara is, we will not find it anywhere else other than this in this tradition. So every organ in the body has Ishvara in the form of a function called Adhishthana Devata, the presiding deity of those organs. The presiding deity of the eyes is the sun, because the sun that illumines everything also illumines the eyes, because in the absence of sunlight, moonlight, we cannot see. And even these bulbs and all are just a imitation of the sunlight. And so therefore, this is something very important. So if there is a problem with the eyes, we are asked to chant the invocation to the sun called Aditya Hridayam, which were instructions given by Vasishtha, sage Vasishtha, to Lord Rama before the war. They are instructions of courage, but they invoke the sun for this purpose, for invoking courage, and it's the same prayer if there is any eye problems. Amazing it is. Therefore, we can have new devatas, even those that are not mentioned in the Shastra. We can have pancreatic Devi, we can have another devata for the liver, we can have new devatas. And this the people in India know. And when the AIDS pandemic was there, everybody was very upset. So many cases were there. And so they had one new deity, which they consecrated a temple called AIDS Amma, goddess temple. This is how we can see, we Ishvarize everything that we love, that we have difficulty accepting, because we don't have a choice. We don't have a choice saying, I'm going to deny that there is rain. What are you going to do? What would you have done yesterday? There is no rain. I'm not going to accept the rain. What will happen if you don't accept the rain? You will only get wet. That's all. And you won't have any friends, because people will say, stay away from this person. But all too frequently, we have our own side step of this dance, which is a series of missteps. We have our own parallel dance, which is a sad, but can't even say imitation, which is a sad cacophony, no harmony, and a series of wrong steps, which we call a dance. And we are addicted to that, we are obsessed with that, because we feel all powerful. It's just a few steps, same old steps, which all end in a fall. This is what the steps are. And therefore, we are addicted to these steps as jivas, because we think it confers upon us some power and some kind of an independence. Wrong, all the way wrong. Completely wrong. How can it confer independence when the whole premise of this dance is what? Is based on dependence on various things. And the wrong philosophy of becoming somebody or the other. How can it confer independence? You hoard a few things and you dance with that, you juggle with that, and you call it what? Independence, freedom. I want to have it my own way. This is my own thing. In the beginning, it is like, let me out of this whole jagat. I want to carve my own reality. I want to be by myself. I want to have my own thing. Okay, take your things, go. Take the ball, go home. Don't be a player. Take the ball, go home. No problem. And then what? Sits at home with the ball having disrupted the game, and then feels lonely. And then says what? Let me in, let me in. First, what did the jiva say? Let me out. I'm sick of this. I don't have this sheep flock mentality. I want to stand out. I want to be outstanding. I want to not be part of all this. Everybody is doing this. I don't want to do this. Everybody is in acceptance. I'm a rebel. I was a born rebel. Let me out. Okay, go. And then what? I'm lonely. God has abandoned me. Nobody is there for me. And now the tune changes. Let me in, let me in, let me in. And this is why Bhagavan does not need cable TV. Yes. Does not need all these new streaming services. Why? Because the jiva's life is itself entertainment. Each jiva is a reality channel. Yeah, we can imagine God Vishnu and Goddess Lakshmi sitting and discussing this. And Goddess Lakshmi says, what's wrong? I thought he just said, let me out, let me out. Now she is saying, let me in, let me in. And Lord Vishnu says, don't take them seriously. This is just a show. They are unpaid actors, okay? Not even paid actors. They do this for free. You don't even have to pay them. They keep falling over themselves. Don't take them seriously. But they're asking you for the blessings. Just say Tathastu. Whatever they say, you say Tathastu. So easy. Don't worry. Don't get all stressed. This is what it is. And so we have to retrace the steps back from this abyss of trying to have liberation through action, through karma, because action is limited, result of action is limited. So we have to stop trying to get liberation from doing, and we have to stop trying to have freedom from becoming famous. We have to stop this addiction to becoming. We have to start working on the freedom from a becoming life. Becoming rich is going to make me free. Becoming healthy is going to make me free. Becoming independent of everybody else is going to make me free. Becoming famous is going to make me free. These are all old and tired, what's that called? Record, going in the head. It's playing in a loop. In fact, really what is the freedom is the freedom from becoming. Wise is that person who understands that I really need to free myself from becoming. Therefore, I have to say, let me in. And when I say let me in for the last time, then there is no more looking back. That means I have to be in appreciation and acceptance. Appreciation is the first step. I appreciate. This is how the Jagat is. This is how people are. You cannot complain people are reactive, because that's how the mind is. Unless it is trained, until it is trained. Just like you cannot complain that a 2-year-old child is having tantrums. Definitely it will have tantrums. What else will it have? It will have tantrums. It's not going to sit and say Tattvamasi. No. It will have tantrums. It's normal for it to have tantrums. It's normal for it to have a meltdown. And then that if we can recognize this also. That yes, if there is a mind, it will stray, it will be distracted. If there is a mind, it will have questions about itself. If there is a mind, it will identify with the emotions and fast track to sorrow. This we have to see. At the same time, we have to see that there is the will. There is what is given along with the emotions is the ability to transcend them. The ability to Ishvarize them is also given. That muscle has to be strengthened. From appreciation to Ishvarization we go, that muscle has to be really, really strengthened so that I don't fall into this abyss of thinking I'm alone, I'm lonely. Alone is okay, but lonely. I'm thinking I'm lonely and nobody cares, and then Ishvara is far away from me. This is one reason why people say, I don't believe. You're not being asked to believe, you're being asked to understand. Those are two very different things. Ishvara is not a matter for belief, it's a matter for understanding as the glory of the Jagat. And the glory of the Jagat is the glory that is your own body, mind, sense complex, your own potential, your own divinity. That is what has to first learn to be appreciated, and then to become a student of Lord Nataraja's dance, we then learn to fall in step. That is called acceptance. When somebody is giving you something, it's very easy to accept. Here is some chocolate cake. Ooh, very nice, thank you. Here is some money. Go buy yourself something nice. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Here is a stroke of good luck. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Here is some separation. No, not happening to me. Here is some loss. No, here are some challenges. No, here is some difficulty. Absolutely not. You see? You see how selective we are? And then the familiar cry of why me starts. What do we have to do? We have to convert it into why not me? Try that for a change. Yeah. It had to happen to somebody. Why not me? Instead of why me? Because it sounds funny. When all 8 billion people feel victimized and targeted at the same time, each one is crying, what? Why me? Why me? Why me? You be the different one. You be the outlier for a change and try saying, why not me? Something had to go. Some possession had to go. It went from me. And okay, doesn't matter. Let it go. Why not me? And this, when we start changing this tune, there are a number of changes that we see. The dance gets easier. I'm not tying up the legs and dancing. The legs are free, the hands are free to show all the movements. And I am in step with Bhagavan, Bhagavan's dance, and my appreciation of the dance and my following of the dance in the form of acceptance of what is. That is what is going to be completely transformative. That is what is needed to understand and assimilate the analogy of the theatre lamp. Here in the theatre lamp analogy, the dancer is dancing to the tune of the mind, buddhi, mind together. And then the buddhi, mind are also not independent. The buddhi and mind are dancing to the tune of what? The sense objects via the sense organs. The sense organs are playing a melody. They are showing you the glories of the universe, and instead of appreciating the glory as Ishvara, we take just the name and form. That's why it is called falling in love. Okay? The operative word is what? Not love. Falling. And what is it that we fall in love with? That which we can objectify, namely the word and the meaning, or the name and the form. Falling in love with the name and form, then what happens? Then this is a recipe for disappointment and sorrow, because the name and form constantly changes and then self-destructs. Name and form came into being by Satchidananda, Atma, by Ishvara, and then name and form sustained by Ishvara, name and form goes back to Ishvara. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu dhruvam janma mritasya cha. This is apariharya, says Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. For the one who is born, For that which is born, death is certain. For that which has gone, birth is certain. Tasmat apariharyarthe. Apariharya means no exception. This order, even Lord cannot change because it is the Lord manifest as this order. Bhagavan cannot go against Bhagavan. And so therefore, tasmat, what should you do? Appreciating this fact, accepting this fact, natvam shochitum arhasi, you do not deserve to grieve. Very beautiful teaching. When you know everything is finite, it's just a matter of when it will go. Something will go. Everything will go. It's just a matter of when. And so therefore, appreciating this fact, I insulate the heart from needless sorrow. But that doesn't mean I say, somebody says, would you like to be friends? No, because everything is finite. And so you're also going to die sooner or later. You get into the Vivekananda pose without being Vivekananda, and then what? Everything is going to be finite. So, no problem. This is done out of disenchantment. This is not done out of viveka. This is not done out of discrimination. And even the wise person is called the wise person in Vedanta. The jnani is able to, this is the beauty of Ishvara's dance, it is able to encompass both the orders of reality. The absolute and the relative. One step in the absolute, one step in the relative. That is why this dance is so difficult to learn. One step in Tattvamasi, I am Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi, Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma, all this verily is Brahman, I am that Brahman, Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam, all these are Mahavakyas that show this oneness between the Jiva and Ishvara. All that is here is verily pervaded by Bhagavan. This is where I live. This is my home. This is Om. Om is home. This is what I have to understand. This is what I have to appreciate. This is where I have to live. But at the same time, I have a body-mind-sense complex and I have a temporary home in the form of this Jagat. Cognitive home, which is a permanent home, the home where the heart is, where the head is, and then where the body-mind-sense complex is a temporary home. Where I am, where I have to be what? A devotee. No option here. No other option here. I have to learn to be a devotee because the one that appreciates and the one that is in acceptance has to be the devotee of Bhagavan in the form of the Jagat. And so the wise person is able to traverse, is able to move between these orders of reality. Paramarthikam Sat. Paramarthikam means the absolute, where there is no affliction, no sorrow. I'm the only thing there is. But it takes a while to get there because the orientation is that of duality. So in the non-dual realm I learn to live. At the same time, I see the duality as just a manifestation and as though manifestation of Ishvara. How to do that more, we will see tonight. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you.
So I'd like to thank again very much Swamini Satma Vidyananda Saraswati for this beautiful teaching this morning. And Swaminiji will continue with a workshop today.